Hi everybody, welcome to Midweek. I got two of the best looking dudes in the world with me today. We're here just to kind of talk about an incident that actually happened last week here in Salem. How it affected one high school, but really it affected all of the high schools. And I couldn't think of two guys that I trust more working with middle school and high school kids than our two. So thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
Some of you may have heard about it because you get the newspaper, but others didn't. So tell us a little bit, Jonathan, what happened. I think it was last Thursday.
Yep, last Thursday, early afternoon. So there was a gang involvement. There was going to be a fight at Bush Park, and so you had dozens of kids showing up to the park. And when they showed up for the fight, a fist fight, someone pulled a gun.
Wow.
And a couple kids got shot. One kid sadly passed away. The one who fired the gun, he is in custody. He did get arrested, but kids scattered. And I was actually outside at North Block at the time, so I got to watch the dozens of police cars rip out of the police station and head south, not knowing where they were going. Tyler and I were kind of talking like, is this a school shooting? And the fact that our brain even goes there now is kind of a sad reality. But there was a lot of scare in that situation, and then it actually caused a lot of places around the area to shut down for the next few hours.
Yeah, so I mean the police responded in unbelievable fashion, and they came into a very difficult setting. From what I hear is, again, those kids, the 60 or so kids that were at the park, ran back to the school, and then the school, South, went on a level 3. For most of us, that's probably not language we know, but you know it. What is a level 3 lockdown?
Yeah, for schools responding to that situation, level 3 is when they're really actively shutting things down, barricading doors, limiting communication, and that's where I think a lot of what I've been receiving from kids, that's where just a lot of that fear and just in that moment, the terror, that's where your head goes to, like you said. So knowing that's your situation, just the shutdown, that level 3, educators and students alike know that that's a very serious situation. So thankful for the response, but now we're just processing with students and just letting them kind of figure out on multiple levels of just what happened that day.
And then there was a couple days later a bomb threat.
Yep.
And so it feels like, all of the students that you all are working with they have, in some ways, a lot bigger issues that they're facing than how much I love or hate, algebra or, chemistry tables and everything else. How is it showing up in some of your ministry areas? I mean, certainly those who are at South, I mean, this is their home school. What's some of the reactions? You said some of the stress and trauma of a lockdown.
Yeah, I think, the stress and trauma, and I think that when we let that fear come in, some of the anxiety that comes along with it, for those there, but then the response of, our heads can go all kinds of places. So thankfully, I don't think there's been a lot of outward expression of that. There's been a lot of support. Honestly, we've seen some of our students from other schools rally, like, hey, let's support South, let's wear their colors. So just seeing that there's also strength in it as they respond. Yeah. But I think for us, just being sensitive to where that fear comes out and expressed, and we haven't seen that in a lot of necessarily huge outward ways, but it is popping up in conversations, and we just try to create that environment where we can share, and so it doesn't go to unhealthy places in conversations and in our minds.
There's been some in some way sad, because of it, but good responses of solidarity. But also there was a prayer time that happened on Sunday.
Yep.
What happened there, Jonathan?
So I wasn't able to make it, but I know of a few people who did go, and they gathered at the park on the south side of Bush Park. There was a prayer walk around the area, and then there was also a time where they met at South, where they just walked around, they prayed. There were different youth pastors, community leaders, teachers, students from all the different schools in the area who just gathered and spent time in prayer for that campus. As you said, there was that bomb threat. I think it was the following day. There's been other threats, and so there's a heightened awareness and a heightened fear and anxiousness and stress and worry, like Kyle and Caleb was saying. So covering it in prayer on Sunday was an incredible step, but I think there's going to be more to happen.
My sense is there's kind of like two responses to complete chaos. One is to run. And to imagine, where can I move, where can I go that my kids don't face this. I think the other is in some way kind of like our police department. They ran into, and we can't thank them enough for the kind of risk. But how do you see some options for us to say, God, you've called us. We're a church for the city. You've called us to the city. You've called us, and he didn't call us to an assignment that was necessarily easy. Schools are different than when I went, schools that I went to in high school back in, generations gone by. We did pranks where we put fish in the swimming pool. Shouldn't even confess that. Somebody might be watching. But it's just a different place, right? And there's this tendency of we got to get out of here. But then there's this other, like the police, it's like, no, we got to get in there. How do you see in your own heart, and maybe even in our students, how do you see us leaning into this and saying, this is an issue, but we're not going to run from it. We're not going to live with fear. We're not going to, bail. God's called us to this city. How do you see us leaning into that? The prayer, I think that's a huge one. And somebody told me this weekend, is that we have got to, lean into our schools. One of the counselors in our school, our church, has had some struggles with suicidal issues. And she was telling me, one of the counselors was telling me that, they're dealing with suicide issues down into the elementary grades. So it's not high school, college, it's way down. How do you see us leaning into this? What are some of the things you're thinking now, both of you?
I'd say the first one is we don't shy away from it when students are struggling with those things, or even if it's not the way of that individual student saying, I'm struggling with suicidal thoughts or something along those lines, they know someone. And so being active in people's lives is huge. That was something that we've talked about, dozens of times, of living an intentional relationship with each other, whether that is through just small groups or Bible studies, activities outside of youth group, just being there. Not saying I'll talk to you a different time, but actually saying, I'm going to intentionally enter into your life now. When those hard situations come, when you have a friend who's going through something hard, saying someone else will take care of it. Saying, no, I'm gonna pray for them. I'm gonna lean in. I'm gonna check in. I'm gonna ask them how they're doing. And so living in that intentional relationship, and so coming alongside students and teaching them how to do that. Is something that I know that we've been doing.
I really like your thought on one of the ways to respond is just be available in the moment. The willingness to place whatever's in front of me as a high priority, knowing that probably means 3 things on my checklist don't get done that day. How about you, Ken?
Yeah, I think that naturally as in the response, we saw those faith groups step up, do the prayer walks. There's plenty of groups that are working on mental health or those areas that we see this creeping in so many ways. So I think as the church, we have I think people look to us, so I think that what we try to do in youth group, we have a lot of our church kids that we're discipling, and we have those that get invited, but we don't always have the same opportunity to be in schools. But we know how you respond to that very natural fear is huge. So how our parents, how they're having those conversations with their kids and allowing that fear, how it comes out, and how they respond is the opportunity we have, I think, that pressing in. But I think too, as a church, learning how do we support and find groups that, especially with a gang issue or any of the areas of what alternatives is our city giving these young men and women where they're turning to these activities, or even, those suicidal thoughts of how do we create more outlets, and I think that we do our best here, but there's so many other leadership opportunities, and how do we support the right organizations that are stepping into our schools and providing those resources that show that there's a different way, that there's hope outside of this choice. So it's hard to know what that is, but I think as we get a better idea of where the need is and what we can do as a church and a city, that I think that's what we hope to that comes out further out of these sort of events.
As I've had time to kind of think about some of the things that happened on Thursday and then the threat, one of the thoughts that I went to was these administrators, and frankly, across the school, whether it be Salem Kaiser or Salem Academy, Cross Hill, doesn't matter. Some of these administrators, the decisions that they have to make in a moment of seconds, right? And they're dealing with all of these kids. They need to feel our support. They need to feel our, not just, hey, glad you're there, but so if you know of administrators, we need to be telling them, I'm with you, I'm praying for you, because they're making some huge decisions in a short period of time. And certainly we as a church need to be, again, fulfilling our call of duty, if you will, and to relate to our city much like our police officers did. I love the way you said, you're watching and 12 vehicles just took off, and they were there. And I just, again, how honoring it is to know and how thankful we are that those guys and gals did that. Yeah.
I think I'd add just, we have, in our church, we have so many educators, people who are pouring into students, different campuses. And so I think finding ways when you see teachers, they face a lot of hard stuff. So just any ways that we can support them. Again, prayer, of course, but letting them know they're appreciated and their role is so important. Public school, private school, homeschool, that just educating and teaching our kids and the opportunities they have to step into this world. So,
Amen. Amen. Well, again, we just wanted to kind of bring you up to speed. Probably some of you, this is old news to you, but maybe some of you didn't hear about it. It's the city that God's called us to, and we want to run to it. That's what being a church for the city is. And I could not think of two better looking guys that I'm going to the city with. So thanks for coming today. Hey, this weekend, we're back at it, the Gospel of John. Can't wait. One of the things you're going to see this weekend is this little card, really good card, by the way, made by a pretty special guy. Those cards are invite cards. And our challenge to all of us, and we've taken it seriously as a staff, we're all in on this one, is to go and invite somebody. They're never going to come if we don't invite them. So these cards are going to be given to you. They have the Good Friday service time and the Easter times, Saturday night, 3 Sunday morning for Easter. So we're going all in, preparing for your friends, your family. Maybe it is your immediate family. Those cards are a gift to you. So pick them up this weekend, and we're going to blitz the city. And can't wait. God bless you. Have a great week. We love you.